You ever notice how betrayal never kicks down the door? Nah, it rings the bell. It was a Tuesday. The kind of Tuesday that tastes like leftover coffee and routine. I had just finished grading a stack of sophomore literature essays. My red pen was still in hand, bleeding ink and patience, when the doorbell rang at exactly 7:43 p.m. precise. Like it knew this was the moment everything would tilt. Can you get that? Monica called from the kitchen. She was chopping carrots with mechanical precision. Tick, tick, tick. The knife hit the cutting board like a clock with a grudge. I opened the door. Tall kid on the porch, maybe 18, lanky, with dark hair and eyes that looked familiar. Too familiar. Mr. Keller? He asked. That's me, I said. I'm Eli Brenner. He stuck his hand out. I'm your son. Let me tell you something, 20 years of teaching teenagers how to interpret symbolism trains your face to stay neutral when the plot twists. My wedding ring clicked against the doorknob as I tightened my grip. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I just did what every man does when the bottom drops out. I looked for the floor. Behind me, Monica stepped into the foyer, dish towel in hand. Eyes locked on the stranger. This is Eli, I said. He says he's my son. The towel hit the floor. And just like that, the cracks that had been whispering through the foundation of our marriage turned into a thunderclap. You're what? She said. Now, I won't bore you with every word that followed. Let's just say by 9:28 p.m., I was no longer living in my house. I was sitting in a beige motel room across from a kid who might be my son, staring at a clock and wondering if the world really ended with a bang, or if sometimes it ends with a doorbell and a quiet, I need you gone in 30 minutes. And that was just the opening act. The Holiday Inn Express smelled like burnt coffee and false optimism. Room 214 had 2 queen beds, a chair that had seen better centuries, and a lamp that buzzed like it was annoyed to be alive. I sat on the edge of the bed and tried to remember how to breathe. Eli sat across from me, fiddling with the paper from his birth certificate. I didn't mean to cause trouble, he said. You didn't, I replied. You just walked in at the exact angle to show me how crooked everything already was. He looked confused. 18 years old and already carrying the kind of weight that reshapes his spine. He didn't deserve my sarcasm. But that's the thing about pain, it doesn't care who it leaks onto. I tried finding you sooner, he said. Mom said you were kind. Said you were smart. Thought maybe you'd want to meet me someday. I nodded. Not because I had something wise to say, but because silence felt safer than breaking again. And then my phone buzzed. Monica, please don't come back. 8 words. No punctuation. All final. Eli caught the look on my face. That bad. I've seen hurricanes that caused less damage. He hesitated. Do you think she'll forgive you? I stared at him. Do you want the honest answer? He shrugged. I think forgiveness was a town we passed 3 exits ago. There's a kind of ache that lives in the bones, you know? It doesn't scream. It just settles. Like fog. Like guilt. Like the moment you realize your life just changed in the time it took to answer a door. We sat in silence. 2 strangers tied together by a photo and a woman who had already died. Funny, isn't it? The dead sometimes have better timing than the living. Eventually, Eli got up. I'll give you space. He paused at the door. I'm glad I found you, even if it's messy. Messy is the only kind of true there is, I said. And then he was gone. Left me alone with a quiet TV, a buzzing lamp, and a life story that had just taken a turn I never wrote a syllabus for. I wasn't a drinker. Not usually. But there was a vending machine in the hallway of that Holiday Inn, and I swear the Diet Coke had never looked so judgmental. I passed it on the way to the front desk, asked if they sold anything stronger than caffeine. The woman behind the counter smiled like she'd been asked that 1,000 times. Or across the street, she said. Cheap horse. Broken jukebox. Perfect for thinking too much. She wasn't wrong. It was a place called Lenny's. Half-lit sign, 1 pool table, 3 old men arguing about baseball, and a bartender who handed me a whiskey without asking what I wanted. You look like you just got promoted to rock bottom, he said. I raised the glass. To new titles. After 2 sips, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was from Monica's sister, Claire. Claire, I don't know what you did, but she's not sleeping. She's crying in the laundry room. I haven't seen her cry in 5 years. I stared at the screen, wondering if that was supposed to make me feel better. It didn't. Monica was crying in the laundry room while I was drinking whiskey in a dive bar with a broken jukebox that was playing a song I hadn't heard since college. That's when it hit me. I still had access to our cloud account. I pulled out my phone and logged in, not because I wanted to spy, but because curiosity has a cruel sense of timing. And within 5 minutes, I was somewhere I shouldn't have been. There was a folder I didn't recognize, labeled miscellaneous. Classic mistake. I opened it. Photos, screenshots, a few PDFs. One was a plane ticket. First class. Booked 2 months ago. To Phoenix. But we'd never been to Phoenix. We didn't know anyone there. The date was from a weekend. She said she was visiting her sister. I clicked again. Screenshot of a hotel confirmation. 2 guests. 1 room. Then a message. From someone named Nathan. Nathan, can't wait for another weekend. You bring the sarcasm, I'll bring the wine. My throat dried up faster than the whiskey could fix. I didn't cry. I didn't even flinch. I just sat there, in that broken little bar, with the jukebox humming and the whiskey sweating, thinking about all the nights I'd cooked dinner while she said she was stuck in traffic. All the times she came home smelling different. Lighter. Like something had been let go, but not me. I paid my tab and walked back to the motel like a man rehearsing how to become a ghost. I didn't go back to the room right away. Walked past the entrance to the Holiday Inn and kept going down the sidewalk like I had a destination, even though I didn't. That's the thing about betrayal. It makes even familiar streets feel like foreign territory. You walk just to move, hoping that somewhere between step 7 and step 70, your legs will figure out what your heart refuses to accept. I ended up in a 24-hour diner. One of those chrome-sided joints with pie under a glass dome and a waitress who calls you Han, whether you're crying or ordering pancakes. I wasn't crying, just had that blank look. The kind of expression you wear when life hits pause, and all you can hear is the refrigerator hum and your own heartbeat trying to decide whether to speed up or give up. Long night? She asked. Something like that. She poured coffee without another word. Bless her. I pulled out my phone. Opened that folder again. Miscellaneous. A word so small, so innocent, hiding everything that had just amputated a 20-year marriage. One of the PDFs was a receipt for a wine tasting tour. Not just any wine tour. This one was at a vineyard in Sonoma. One Monica had once told me she wanted to visit someday. I remembered because I'd bookmarked the place to surprise her for our anniversary. Never got the chance. Apparently, Nathan beat me to it. The photos didn't show anything graphic. Just smiling faces. His arm around her shoulder. Her head tilted back in a laugh I hadn't seen in years. One shot of them clinking glasses, captioned, "To unexpected connections." Unexpected. Sure. Connections? I'd been trying to reconnect with her for 2 years, and all I got was silence and the occasional, "I'm tired." I closed the folder, locked my phone, took another sip of coffee, and then, because apparently, rock bottom has a trapdoor, I remembered something worse. She used to say, "Honesty is my love language." The same mouth that said that was now busy drinking Cabernet with someone who called her firecracker in a text thread I should have never read. I left the diner around 2 a.m., the street empty, the night colder than I expected. When I opened the door to room 214, everything was the same. The same dull lamp, the same 2 untouched beds, the same empty chair. Only now it felt more like a waiting room at the end of something. I sat down, pulled out my laptop, and like a man who knows exactly how much truth he can handle before it breaks him, I started going through our shared digital life. Bank statements first. See, most people hide affairs in phone records and texts. But real secrets? They live in your spending history. Monica had a separate credit card for personal expenses. Said it was for haircuts and birthday gifts. What it actually funded was Nathan's weekend getaway fund. Dinner at the Bellagio. Room service in San Diego. Tickets to a Broadway show we'd once dreamed of seeing together. Every transaction was another breadcrumb. And by the time I followed them all, the picture was complete. It wasn't just a fling. This was a rerouting. A whole new life, plotted and lived behind my back. Then I made the mistake of opening her calendar. She had entries marked as self-care and girls' night, which, based on the photos I'd just seen, should have been labeled double occupancy. Her alibis were as polished as her wine glass. And just like that, the last 2 years of our marriage unraveled with military precision. I closed the laptop. Didn't scream. Didn't cry. I just stared at the ceiling and listened to the hum of the heater kick on. Somewhere outside, a car drove by playing a song I used to love. Funny how music feels different after a betrayal. Like someone put your favorite memory on shuffle and handed it to a stranger. By sunrise, I'd packed. Not to go home, but to go see someone. Eli. I owed him an apology. The night he showed up, I had too much shock and not enough clarity. But after digging through the ruins of my marriage, I realized something. The only real truth that showed up on my doorstep that night was Eli. He didn't lie. He didn't cheat. He didn't wear a mask. He just knocked. And I, like an idiot, was so busy looking backward that I couldn't see the one honest thing standing right in front of me. The next morning, I stood in front of room 214, bag in hand, thinking about how the kid on the other side of the door might be the only person in my life who hadn't lied to me in the last 2 decades. I knocked. Once. Firm, like a man introducing himself to fate. The door opened, and there he was, Eli, eyes wide, hair a mess, shirt inside out. "Hey," he said. "Got time for breakfast?" He blinked like I just offered him a kidney. Yeah, of course. We sat in a booth at the Waffle House down the street. Greasy menus, sticky syrup bottles, and the sweet comfort of anonymity. Nobody knows your history when you're chewing bacon. "You were right," I said, pouring coffee. "About being your son?" I nodded. Got the receipts to prove it. Took a deep dive into the past last night. Found photos, emails, messages your mom sent. Everything fits. Even got your birthday on a plane ticket stub from a year after we. Yeah. He didn't smile. Just sat still, respectful, but with the same steady gaze Monica used to give me back when she still believed in me. "I'm sorry," he said. "You didn't do anything." "No, but you look like a guy who's been pushed out of his own life." I snorted. "That obvious?" He took a sip of orange juice and said, "You wear it like a jacket." We ordered eggs and hash browns. I ate like a man clocking in for a job he no longer wanted. The food didn't matter. The chewing did. It kept my teeth from grinding. After breakfast, we went to a clinic. Walk-in DNA test. Swab, seal, signature. 2 weeks for results, but neither of us needed them. The evidence was in his face and my regret. On the way back, I called Monica. She didn't answer. I called again. Voicemail. I left a message. "DNA's in. He's my son. You can stop pretending this is about me lying. Because now, Monica, it's about you." Back at the motel, I unpacked methodically. Belt on hanger. Toothbrush in the cup. Old man routines in a borrowed space. I opened my laptop and clicked through the digital debris again, this time more as an accountant than a husband. If she was willing to burn down a marriage for a man with good biceps and bad spelling, fine. But I wasn't leaving the bank unlocked when the fire started. I pulled up our joint accounts, our retirement plans, the will we hadn't updated since 2011. I started shifting assets. Quietly. Legally. Ethically. Brutally. There's a kind of vengeance that doesn't yell. It doesn't throw plates or key cars. It just reorganizes the paperwork while your spouse is out cheating and humming to herself like you don't exist. I froze all credit cards except the one I carried. I removed her as the beneficiary of my life insurance and named Eli instead. I revoked her emergency contact status from every medical form I could remember. When I was done, I had reduced Monica's financial presence in my life to a ghost. Not because I was bitter, but because I was done being the wallpaper in my own home. Then I emailed her one last time. Subject, paperwork. Body, the lawyers will contact you next week. Keep the house. Keep the furniture. Keep the story you've been telling everyone. Just know mine's different. And this time, it's the truth. No threats. No emotion. Just punctuation. Later that night, I walked to a strip mall pharmacy and bought a new toothbrush, a razor, and a burner phone. Not because I planned to vanish, but because I wanted to live like someone who could. When I came back, there was a message waiting from Claire. "Claire, she's freaking out. Says you're sabotaging everything. Accused me of siding with you." I didn't. I just asked why there was a second wine glass in her room on Sunday. I didn't reply. She sent one more. "Claire, you don't deserve this." That was the first kind thing anyone had said to me in days. Around midnight, I stood at the window and looked out at the parking lot. A man in a tracksuit was walking his dachshund. Somewhere, a vending machine buzzed and spit out a bag of chips. Life went on. Indifferent. I whispered, "You left first," to no one in particular. Then I opened my laptop, clicked on a blank document, and typed the first line of something I hadn't written in years. When your world burns quietly, you don't scream. You write it down. I don't know if it'll be a book, or a letter, or a confession. All I know is the next part isn't about Monica anymore. It's about what I build after the dust. The motel room clock clicked over to 3:17 a.m. when I woke up, fully clothed, heart racing like it was trying to beat something to the finish line. I wasn't dreaming. I wasn't resting either. Just lying there in that half-sleep space where regret and resolution argue like old roommates who hate each other's music. I sat up, reached for the lamp, and turned it on. That sterile yellow light. Motel lighting always feels like it's trying to interrogate you. The room was silent except for the buzz of the fridge and the low static of a TV I hadn't turned on. On the desk sat a pile of napkins from the diner. I grabbed a pen and started writing. Not a revenge list. Not a diary entry. Just a record. Because when your life's been rewritten by someone else's choices, you owe it to yourself to take the pen back. To whom it may concern, I wrote. Because I didn't know yet who it was for. Maybe a judge. Maybe Eli. Maybe just me, 5 years from now, needing to remember the exact taste of this moment. I wrote about the dinner she missed last spring when I cooked her favorite, even folded the napkins like that fancy place in Vermont she loved. She texted me, stuck at work. Rain check? That night I ate alone and told myself it was just a job. I wrote about her laugh. Not the new one, the one I didn't recognize in those hotel videos, but the real one. The one that used to escape when she'd beat me at Scrabble and pretend she hadn't planned it all game. I wrote about Eli's eyes, and how it felt to realize a part of me had been walking the world without me for 18 years. And then I wrote the thing I'd been avoiding. She didn't just cheat with her body. She did it with time, with silence, with that careful erosion of affection she thought I wouldn't notice. By the time I finished, the sun was coming up, and I realized something. I didn't want closure. I wanted truth. So I drove to the house. Not to confront her. Not yet. Just to see it one more time while it still looked like ours. She wasn't home. The driveway was empty. The curtains were drawn. I didn't go in. Just walked around the side and sat on the porch steps like I used to on Sunday mornings, coffee in hand, back when love still fit both of us. And that's when I saw it, a manila envelope tucked into the mailbox. No stamp. No address. Just my name in her handwriting. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Adam, I can't undo any of it. But you should know I wasn't planning to leave. I was planning to come clean. That night Eli showed up. I saw the look on your face and realized how far I drifted. Not just from you. From the woman I used to be when we first met. I never stopped loving you. I just stopped knowing how. I'm sorry. Monica ***. It wasn't enough. Not even close. But it was real. And after weeks of rehearsed denial and ice-cold fury, real was more shocking than rage. I put the letter back in the envelope and slid it into my coat. On the way back to the motel, I passed her car. Not on the road, but in the parking lot of the Maple Inn. I pulled into the lot and sat across from it for a full hour. I didn't need to go inside. I knew who she was with. Nathan. He wasn't a mystery anymore. He was a pattern. A type. A placeholder for the thrill she missed. And maybe a mirror she liked better than mine. But I had a mirror too. And I'd started using it. That night, I took a walk with Eli. We didn't say much. Just wandered through town like two people trying to remember how to belong in their own stories. You okay? He asked finally. No. But I'm better than yesterday. He nodded. Mom used to say you were the one who got away. Guess she was right. Just took longer than expected. I smiled at that. We sat on a bench by the edge of the park, watching some kids kick a ball like nothing in the world could go wrong. You think people can change? I asked. Eli shrugged. People evolve. Some into better versions. Some into camouflage. And which one am I? You're in the middle. That's where the choice is. I didn't answer. Just stared out at the horizon, where the sky was turning the same color as a bruise healing from the inside. Back in the motel, I turned off the lights, lay down, and realized something I hadn't felt in weeks. Not peace. Not closure. Just direction. Like the tide had finally decided which way to pull. I didn't hear from Monica for 3 days after the envelope. And I didn't try to reach her either. Letting someone twist in their own silence is underrated. But Claire did call. Adam, she said, no small talk. She knows you've been moving the accounts. She figured it out? She was screaming into a pile of towels in the laundry room. Claire whispered, like Monica might hear her through the phone. Said something about you freezing her out financially. I froze her out emotionally first, I said. She just didn't notice. Claire exhaled. She said you left the insurance policy to someone else. I did. Who? My son. She was quiet for a long time. Then, you're not bluffing, are you? No, Claire. Not a bluff. This is chess, not checkers. She made her moves. I'm just playing the endgame now. That evening, Monica texted me. Monica, you've made your point. Can we talk? Me. We had 20 years to talk. You used most of it saying, I'm tired. Monica, you're doing this to hurt me. Me. No. I'm doing this to protect what's left of me. No reply after that. I closed the messages and opened my email. In my inbox, the first draft of a separation agreement from my attorney. Clean, fair, emotionless. It was like reading an obituary written by a lawyer. I forwarded it to Monica's email without a note. The next day, she showed up. Not at the motel. At the school. I was walking out of the English building when I saw her standing by my car, coat pulled tight, arms folded like she was cold from something other than wind. She waited until I got close, then said, "You really won't talk to me?" "Funny," I said. "You weren't big on talking while you were drinking wine in hotel rooms." Her jaw clenched, but she stayed calm. That was always her style. Implode privately. Perform publicly. "You want the house?" she asked. "No." "You want to sell it?" "I want out of it." She stepped closer. "You changed all your accounts. Took me off the medical forms. The insurance. Didn't feel right keeping someone who calls me a mistake in charge of my next emergency." "Adam," she said, voice cracking a little. "That was new. You left first," I said quietly. "You didn't pack a bag. You just left piece by piece. First your laughter, then your stories, then your side of the bed." She looked down. "You said you wanted honesty," I continued. "So here it is. I used to think we could fix it. But now I see that I was the only one holding the glue. You were just waiting for it to break." Tears welled up, but she blinked them away like someone trained to outlast emotion. "I didn't expect him," she said. "I didn't expect to become optional," I replied. We stood there in silence, the wind pushing leaves around our feet like nature didn't care one bit about us. She finally said, "Do you hate me?" "No," I said. "But I've stopped loving the woman you became." That one landed. She flinched like I'd thrown something. And then, without another word, she walked away. No drama. No parting shot. Just heels on pavement. Quieter than guilt. That night, I made spaghetti in the motel microwave and watched an old detective movie on cable. The kind with trench coats and gravel-voiced monologues. There's something comforting about watching someone else solve problems with a fedora and a cigarette. Halfway through the movie, my phone buzzed. A text from Eli. "Eli, I know this is all a mess, but thanks for showing up." Me, wish I'd known sooner. But I'm here now. "Eli, that's enough." I stared at those words for a long time. That's enough. Funny how a sentence like that, from someone who owed me nothing, felt more healing than 20 years of apologies from someone who once promised me forever. Before bed, I opened a drawer and pulled out the envelope from Monica again. Read it a second time. It didn't hurt this time. It felt like rereading the directions for a house you'd already decided not to build. Then I folded it up, placed it back in the envelope, and slid it behind the motel Bible. Not to forget, but to leave it where it belonged. Out of reach. I woke on a Thursday with a sense of focus I hadn't felt since I first walked out of that house. The motel curtains were drawn, the TV murmured reruns, but everything outside felt sharper, like someone wiped the lens on my world clean. I texted Eli, "Meet me at Lenny's at 5. After the past few weeks, I figured the broken jukebox could handle one more secret. He arrived exactly on time, quiet nod, no questions until the first sip of iced tea. "Dad," he said, "what's the plan?" I looked at him. I realized how much he'd grown in these short weeks, more like a man than a kid now. "We gather the facts. Everything we'll need." I handed him 2 folders, one printed separation agreement, the other, account statements, wire transfers, our financial truths laid out. He opened the agreement, silent, absorbing every page. I tapped a pen against my palm, thinking of chess again. Every move matters. But I was done reacting. Now, I'd choose. We talked through it. Who keeps what? How we'd protect each other. How I'd support him without Monica's approval. No emotion, just logistics. Restoration, not revenge. But restoration felt revolutionary after weeks of watching my own life fade. By the time the jukebox sputtered to life with a blues riff, we'd mapped everything. We both sat back, and repetition felt like redemption. "Thanks, Dad." He meant it. And that word, construction built on gratitude, that's what a man builds his future on when his past burns down. That night, I went back to the house. Not to confront. To observe. I walked around to the side window. Light spilled from inside, the table was set for 2, candles lit, and I'm sure the playlist was one she used to love. Heartbreak dressed in familiarity. My phone vibrated. A notice. Account freeze lifted. Monica had transferred money back, even though she didn't have to. Maybe pride. Maybe shame. Either way, That was a response. I watched from the dark for 15 minutes, then left without a sound. Back at the motel, I sat in darkness and realized something important. She still cared enough to care. But caring isn't the same as choosing. That night, I wrote a single sentence in my journal. If you rebuild a house, the foundation matters more than the walls. And I realized my foundation was something she couldn't take. Not now. Not ever. Morning came. No fanfare. I dressed in jeans, button-up shirt, and packed the folders into a briefcase. My phone pinged. Calendar invite from Monica. House meeting. 11 a.m. She wanted to settle? Perfect. I drove to the house. Heart steady. I wanted real closure, or at least the start of one. Inside, Monica stood by the table, her face tired, but resolved. No wine glass in hand. Just paperwork. The house felt like a tomb of shared memories. I'd come to bury them, respectfully. We sat across each other. I opened my folder. Separation agreement, account summaries, insurance transfer documents, and a certified check covering my part of the mortgage payment for 3 months. She nodded, visibly relieved. She slid the documents into place. Our signatures cut the air like metal on fabric, final but clean. Then she spoke. I'm sorry, Adam, for everything. I paused, not to relish it, but to make sure I heard it. It mattered. Then I said, I believe you. But this wasn't just about mistakes. It was about where we ended up. I pointed to the documents. This is me building a path forward. For me and for him. She glanced at the folders. Then she looked back. Will you? Will you come get your stuff? I'll stop by tomorrow afternoon, I said. We stood. There was no embrace, didn't feel like one, but she offered a nod. I nodded back. I walked out carrying my briefcase. The door closed behind me, and something inside me, something rooted in dignity and clarity, shifted free.